Before the continents had names, before the seas whispered their secrets, before the earth knew how to move, there were the divine ones. Not people, no, not flesh, not bone. They were the things themselves. Things like chaos, darkness, light, spirit, water, earth, air, death, rage, fire, and stone. If they wore shapes, those were only shadows of what they truly were. Their real names? No mortal tongue could hold them without breaking. We know only their natures, and even that is only a sliver. Back then, though, the universe was a tangle. Not stars, not worlds, just restless pieces, until the divine ones learned to love. Not the shy kind of love that you get from stolen glances. It's an older love. Fierce love. A love that can create. Rage was the first to act, because passion always moves first. Rage forged the suns as gifts for light and fire, so the divine ones could see each other truly. Then rage scattered the stars like a million lanterns for spirit and chaos, bright, wild, and everywhere the great suns did not shine. The others soon joined in. Chaos and stone shaped the first planets so that earth, air, and water could rest. Spirit bent low and breathed life, and gave birth to creatures, plants, and people. Fire brought warmth and promise, and when night fell, the stars kept watch to remind the small ones that the sun would return. But darkness, listener, darkness was given no gift, for the others thought that if the universe already belonged to darkness, what more could it need? So, darkness made gift of its own. A cool shadow beneath the tree, the hush of caves, the relief after day's heat, and yes, even a soft shadow in the hearts of mortals. This made rage bristle. Light and spirit frowned. But time told the truth, for darkness's gifts gave depth to the world. Jealousy had been love in heavy clothes, and darkness loved the worlds no less than any other. And so the balance began. The divine ones fashioned, eventually, more worlds than they could tend, so they made children, stewards, to carry their work. Our world received 4. Dosis, god of life, self-appointed keeper of living things and the gods themselves. Virulent, god of fire, the flame and our sun. Solmir, god of waters great and small, the currents and every creature that swims. And Githipton, god of low and dark places, keeper of shadow, of what hides and waits. They worked together mostly, or at least as forces of nature managed to. Now listen close, listener, for as their parents had loved, so did these 4. Love is a habit of the gods. From their unions came children, some of whom you'll know by heart. From Dosis and Virulent came Elisei and Niptor, light and fire in 2 aspects. Elisei, light's gentler face tempered by flame when anger called. Niptor, fire's bright heart, blessed with light from his mother's line. Together they stewarded volcanoes that birthed continents, islands, and the wildfires that clear old growth so life returns again. Destruction serving life. That is a lesson, little listener. From Solmir and Githipton came 3. Voryx, god of mountains and the dark within them, stone-cold peaks, tunnels, deep-dwelling creatures. Thontha, great in body and mind, goddess of strength, courage, and battle, a guide through fear with blade and wit alike. And Mir, the shifting one, sometimes brother, sometimes sister, sometimes neither. Goddess of spirit, trickery, and delight, They were the laugh that loosens sorrow. Life was easy then. The gods walked among us. We feasted with Elisei and Mir, lit great pyres with Niptor, sang victory with Thontha, and went gem hunting with Voryx. Forests were fat with game, rivers with fish, plains with grain. This came to be known as the Age of Brilliance. So the gods taught, we learned, and we taught back, in our small human ways. Now, listener, opposites have a habit of meeting in the middle. Elisei, all light and mercy, grew curious about Voryx, the lord of stone and shadow. Curiosity grew teeth and a heartbeat. She did not have a word for it. We do. But the gods feel differently than we do, so her word would not be ours anyhow. When they descended into the caverns together, Elisei returned with a quiet shimmer on her face. Voryx rose to the surface with a warmth he did not know he carried. They were not lovers as we are lovers. They were the dark and the flame, the mountain cold and the sun warmth, two halves recognizing the use of their opposite. And Mir watched. Envy is a green thread, listener. It can stitch wonders, and it can also knot a heart. Mir missed Elisei's laughter, the mischief they used to share. Why does Voryx have more of her time? Why not me? Why not both? The questions hardened. The first argument came. Mir accused Elisei of lying. Elisei burned with heart and fury. Voryx soothed her with a mountain's patience. Lean your fire against me, he said without saying, and I will hold. But the tear in the weave was made. Tricksters plan when they must. Mir did. A single tear fell. Sadness, rage, longing, all at once. It fell into a mountain stream Elisei had once blessed with laughter. The waters would not accept that tear. It would not blend, so it became something else. The very first demons of water. They were called the Tempestus. Fluid bodies ever moving, not made from love, but from hurt. They were flood-bringers, ship capsizers, absorbers of light instead of reflectors. So sailors, lighthouse keepers, and fisherfolk alike have been said to have seen them when storms go wrong. Once born, though, despair teaches quickly. Rivers learned it, seas learned it. The havoc grew until Solmir, proper steward that he was, took notice. Solmir sought the truth, so he questioned his other godparents, cousins, and finally his own children. Mir confessed, trickster yes, but not a liar to their parents. And then the story spilled. Jealousy, the tear, the Tempestus. Solmir's grief quickly turned to wrath. Rage and chaos are in his blood, remember? He accused Elisei of seducing his son, and Voryx of breaking what should never have been broken. Dosis defended his daughter. Light does not deceive, and that opposites drawing together is the way of nature. But Solmir would not hear it. And so, Solmir banished them both. Elisei was bound to the earth, into the dust from which we were shaped. Voryx to the mountains, into the stone, the shadow, the cold. And Solmir wept the world into winter. Ice spread like slow grief. The rivers had seized, the seas locked. Creatures died. Others learned new ways. And so the long ice era began. Millennia had passed, and gods gave birth to gods, and then the god-children gave birth to more god-children, until the world was covered in blankets of ice. And then came a small voice, Aculina, goddess of the flowers. She had no flowers to tend, only frost-burnt soil and caves too cold for bloom. Am I to be the goddess of nothing? She asked. No one would answer. Not Thontha with her iron heart, not Phaena of the fish, Not her brother, the Sazig of the spiders, though he knew more than most, skittering through tunnels, listening to fungus hum and insects click in the dark. No, Sazig warned in whispers. Do not ask, Solmir. But, as we all know, curiosity is a vine. It climbs the wall you build against it. So Aculina ventured to the Lord of Waters. She found him far below the frozen sheets, seated in gloom. Barnacles and dead coral crusted his great frame. His voice was gravel and tide. "Who comes?" he asked. "Aculina," she said, shaking like a blossom before the frost. "I am the goddess of flowers. I have a question. Why does the ice never end?" He laughed, wet and broken. "You seek wisdom from a husk." She turned to go, her small heart failing. "Then I am the goddess of nothing," she said softly. "There are no flowers left to grow." Something cracked, very softly, inside the lid. "I loved the flowers," Solmir said. "I helped make them." Aculina stopped. "You... what?" He rose, slow as the tide, shrugging off years of grief. "I made them with my brother Dosis. He gave life, I gave color, because love deserves a face." He told her where he planted them, along rivers and lake edges, across mountain plains in honor of Voryx, on battlefields in honor of his daughter Thantha, sweet and dangerous in deep forests in honor of Mir. Aculina stared, bright-eyed and empty-handed. "I've only known ice. Will you lift it for me, Lord? Just enough to plant?" Solmir's face tightened. His memories cut. He sank to his knees and wept again, this time the weeping of a father who knows what he has done. "How long?" he asked. "How long has the ice held?" "Centuries," she whispered. "Millennia, perhaps." "Show me," he said. They both rose together, wind like knives, white to every horizon on the surface. Solmir pressed his palm to the snow, reaching for life, but he felt nothing. No whisper but the thin pulse of the gods themselves. And then there, a song, faint and bright as a thread. It was Elis's light, buried in the earth. Human heartbeats, too, lineages below ground, tucked in warm seams of stone. Villages in caverns, rivers under the ice, forests that glowed, clever tools and new songs that humans had made. Oh, how he loved the songs. The rhythm of oars is cousin to melody, did you know? But he felt something else too. A face like a cliff, cold and full of teeth. Voryx, changed by banishment. Where love was denied, something harder had taken its seat. He wore the shape mortals later named evil. In his shadow, guilds formed, cults bloomed, war found new feasts. Solmir lifted his hand. The world was torn, alive in secret and dead in the open. And where had the other godparents gone? Where were Dosis, Rayland, Githipton? "Gone," Elena said, not understanding the knife she placed. "As dead as gods can be." She then told him of the Great Rift, how the gods split into sides after the banishment, how battles burned until Thanthe fell, Naptor and Dosis called truce with nothing left to fight for. The cold of their distrust settled into the world and never left. In the end, the elders gave themselves to their charges, Dosis into the breath of living things, Thorayland into the sun and volcanoes, Githipton into the shadow under everything. All of them, gone into what they kept. Solmir bowed his head. Shame and grief twisted him like a whirlpool. but he knew what he must do. "Thank you, child," he told Acumen. "You've given me clarity no heaven could." He stepped back and bowed to her. Yes, the Lord of Waters bowing to the goddess of small blooms. And his form rippled, loosened, and fell. He became water. The sea took him and moved. The ice groaned. Cracks leapt like lightning under Aculena's feet. The world boomed. Sheets split. Blue bled through white. The sea waters were bleeding into the cracks and splits of the sheets of ice. She stood on a shrinking raft of winter while summer's veins rushed out beneath her. 3 days, dear listener, 3 days she rode until the water set her gently on a shore. Where she stood was a place both known and new. It was home, but remade. Warm earth, trees laden with fruits she had no names for, ferns heavy with dew, creatures blessing the brush with their quick feet. She ran to Sazig, laughing and crying, and told him everything. Solmir's sorrow, the breaking of the ice, the lives below the world. He only tilted his clever head. "Spiders hear more than we do." "There is a gift," he said, "in the field." She ran. There, rising in a wide plain, was a bloom she'd never seen. White faces edged in gold, turned toward the sun as if listening. Thousands upon thousands. These blooms, we call them now, were daisies. Aculena stepped among them, their scent bright as bells. The breeze moved through, and if you stood very still, you may have heard it too. It was a whisper of thanks. Now tuck this away, dear listener. Darkness's gifts were love, even when jealousy wore the cloak. The gods learn from us as we learn from them. Opposites find each other, often, and that is not a sin. A single tear can make a monster. A single question can break an age. And flowers? Flowers are a promise the world made to itself, that after ice comes bloom.